Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to JHS Interviews. My name is John Henry Soto, and tonight I have filmmaker Daryl Denner is going to be on the show. He's been here before; it's the second time here. We talked so much about so many great things last time that I was like, dude, you got to come back. He said yes, and it was awesome. So he is here, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome. Hold on one second, because I'm having a little technical jumping stuff here on my screen. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Daryl Denner. What's up, dude?
Hey, what's going on, John?
Good. Sorry, I had a little technical thing. Some stuff popped up there, but everything seems to be fine now.
Cool.
So before we start, I do actually want to welcome people on Twitch. I'm actually also live streaming on Twitch as well. So we are now on Facebook, YouTube, a couple of pages on Facebook, and Periscope and Twitch.
Cool.
So welcome anybody that's out there, and we're getting a nice good evening, Mr. Denner and Mr. Soto. Sean Manuel, thank you very much for
Hey, Sean.
All right, so since last we chatted, you by the way, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, man.
It's definitely always my pleasure, and we've always had like a great friendship. Even though distant, we got to work together once so far, and I hope that goes to a lot more in the future.
Oh, absolutely.
But we always admired each other's work and stuff, so I've always appreciated your work. So moving on to like what we're doing, like last time we were here, you were editing, you were kind of in the editing phase, or at least you were in that post production with the film that we shot.
Right.
And, I want to talk a little bit about that in a little bit. But since that, have you been actually writing? What have you been working on during this continued pandemic situation?
Well, I've been doing a little bit of writing, but also keeping up on like film studies. Watching a lot of which I think I mentioned before. Still watching a lot of old movies, and just studying. Just doing a lot of reading about the filmmakers that I like and stuff of that nature. So
yeah,
and also like I said, trying to find time to write. So
yeah, no, I know that's always the hardest part. Writing is hard, man. It's like if you get an idea, then you're just like, wow. Sometimes it almost comes to you all in a flash. You get the whole thing, and you sit down, and then you can write it. But if you just sit there with a paper and pen, you're like, it's like it's not easy. It's hard. People don't realize it.
Especially with so much going on. It's like,
Oh man, it's crazy. I know you're in New York, so you're feeling a lot of the unfortunate heat that's coming down right now. So stay well out there and safe for sure. So when you're watching a film, because you talk a lot about watching these old classic films and stuff, and I do it too. I go back and I watch. So I mean, I'm kind of bad in a sense because I'll watch the same ones. So I need to go watch new ones. But every time you make you post something and you post a film, I'm like, I never even heard of this. And it's like got these legendary actors in it, and I was like, how do I not know these films? Because they're really old films, but they were sort of, I guess, there was a time when these actors made a lot of films in 1 year. Right? They would make 3 or 4 films in a year, and some of them would hit, some of them would just go away. But they were still kept somewhere, and then they get put out, and that's like finding gold, So
and back then they used to lend actors, different studios, used to lend actors to other studios, and so they were constantly making movies.
Constantly working, yeah. So when you're watching a film, like you're studying, you say, do you sit there with a pen and paper and you just like, I like the lighting. Is it like that, or is it just kind of like
I gotta try that though. But no, it's more of it's like the emotional feel that you get from a movie. Like whatever emotion I'm feeling at that moment, I'll stop the movie, go back, and say, okay, what did they do to create this emotion that I'm feeling right now? That's one aspect of it. The other thing is, I do look at the lighting. I look at I think about the director, like, all right, what was the director thinking when they did this? Even if I don't agree with what I saw, like, maybe I didn't like a shot, whatever it is, I would still like to look at it and try to put myself into that mindset. Like, okay, why would he, shoot it this way? And, most of the time it's like, okay, I get it. yeah,
Right.
this is brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm just not smart enough to pick up on it right away. So,
So another thing that I think is a lot of these filmmakers back then didn't really have a rule book of any kind. There was no playbook. There was no schooling for filmmakers. They were kind of like just learning from each other,
mm-hmm.
and also learning as you go. Like Hitchcock did a lot of that, and what's this the other guy? Orson Welles.
Yes.
Really didn't have anything. He was just like, I always talk about that scene in Citizen Kane where that long famous shot where you see the guy all the way in the back, and he's it's got like 4 people in the frame, but they're all far from each other, and it's low, so he had to dig a hole, into the ground of the house to put the camera down low enough so it can actually come and get that angle. I mean, that's not stuff that you're gonna learn in film school. You know what I mean? It's just like he just said, "Well, I need the camera there. That's where I need it. So dig a freaking hole there." I'm gonna put
it wasn't. He just went with it. Whatever you're feeling at the moment, just do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that film school? Because you didn't go to film school officially,
well,
or you
did? I went to the New York Film Academy, but I took a workshop, but I didn't stay. I just left because I wanted to go make films on my own, and
I can't really learning stuff. So
yeah, I didn't get the certificate or anything. I just left.
Yeah. You know what it is. Do you find it? This is a tough question because I know that there are a lot of people that are film school graduates and are making films, and I'm sure that they would defend it. But do you find it that it kind of like pigeonholes you into a certain style of filmmaking where they're not going to tell you dig a hole if you have to for the camera or whatever? They're going to say pick another angle. You don't have time. There's no money for that. We got to move.
I guess, like you said, some filmmakers have, they have different opinions on that. But the way I see it is, it kind of holds you back. At least for me, it was holding me back a little. That's why I left, and I just had to go do it. I mean, you're hearing what, depending on the instructor or professor, whoever it is, they're telling you what is right and wrong with film. But I don't really feel that it's right or wrong. Just, go with your gut and just make art. It's all art,
Right? Isn't it just opinion, really, when you think about it? I mean,
I'm sorry.
Isn't it just opinion when you really think about it?
It's all opinion. Even if you make a film and somebody says it's bad, that's an opinion. If they say it's good, it's all opinion. It's all perspective.
Right. And what's funny is that sometimes these films that come out a long time ago, they don't do really well at all. And then they become classics. Like
years later.
Like It's a Wonderful Life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Wonderful Life came out, did not do that well, was not that well received. It didn't, and now can you go a Christmas without seeing it 400 times on TV? It's weird. And even Orson Welles, who had that great, he was 23 years old, right? And he makes Citizen Kane, right? Where can you go from there, right? And all his other films, people will always say, it wasn't Citizen Kane, whatever. But when you go back and you look at those other films, they were brilliant. He had some real great films, So, people, I think they get their views of something and then they attach that opinion, and then people, because we're like, sometimes people are like, bah, bah. So they come in different shapes and not just in the world, but they also come in the film world or music. A terrible song. Some people will be like, you play it 100 times. People are like, bah, I love this. Bah, it's crazy.
Well, filmmakers also have to look out when they're studying films as well, because when I talk to other filmmakers, when they study film, like famous filmmakers and stuff like that, they try to copy that style, and you could really see it. Like it's like so blatant. It's like right there. It's like really. It's good to study and learn and maybe listen to interviews and stuff like that. But trying to mimic shot by shot, everything that another director does is not. I don't think that's really. Good.
Yeah, I think I think that kind of first of all, it's a risk because you're never. First of all, you're going to be judged on the original. That's one. So you've already lost the audience, or at least filmmakers. I mean, the audience because there's, we watch films differently, right? We're watching lighting and camera, and sometimes the whole film finishes, and I'm like, that was great, but I have no idea what it was about. But the lighting was
Look
fantastic.
great.
Yeah, but it was great. I know that, and we have to go watch it again without paying attention to all the other stuff. But
Right.
it doesn't Tarantino do that a lot? Like but he's kind of managed to take that style and do something completely different with it,
Yes.
but in a sense, almost mimic it also. But he's mimicking it in a completely different sense. Do you watch his films? Are you a fan?
Yeah, I watch his films. I mean, I guess you could say mixed feelings about his films. I mean, I used to say I don't like his films, but as you watch them, you always learn something from it.
Right.
So it's like if somebody put one of his films on in front of me and I didn't know it was his film, I could tell just by the style. Okay,
Oh
Quentin
yeah.
Tarantino did this movie. I mean, I'm sure most people could do that too,
Mhm.
but I see that a lot of his style comes from, at least from what I see, comes from the Italian filmmaker Sergio Leone,
Yeah.
and I see a lot of that, especially with his close-ups.
Yeah.
His use of close-ups are great,
Yeah.
and so I think that's pretty cool about Quentin.
Yeah, yeah. I think that when you're looking at close-ups, what he does really well is that, and it's all in the editing, really. You know what I mean? Like it can get ruined. It can become a one of those Chinese karate films
Right.
on some boom, and then it just ruins the film. So it's really about editing, and he does that really well. I mean, whoever, I don't know if I know he's in the room when he's editing, but he just knows where to put those close-ups where they actually really work within the structure. I'm kind of the same way with you. I did have mixed feelings about his films. Also, I thought that the gore, the violence of them was so apparent.
Right.
Like he really just wants to emphasize it. And I always find it like Hitchcock to me being more of a genius in the sense where at every minute or every second you have no idea what the hell's about to happen, but
Yeah.
you're just like, and obviously I've seen all these films, but when you're first watching them or even the second time watching them, you still you can still appreciate that suspense that's added in there. And to me, that's much more interesting than the guy just going boom.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I mean, I think I told you before. Yeah, that's Hitchcock is like he's my favorite director, and the reason being is like you said, you watch his movies. It's like the work. I can't even. It's the way he does it, the way he tells a story using the medium of a film, and it's like every shot in his films, he's trying to show you something.
Yeah.
An insert or the close up or what he's doing with the wide, but every shot is essential for the story he's telling, and it's amazing.
It really is. And we've talked about him before, but I mean he's worth another talk about. But the birds, where I remember when I first saw the birds, it was because my mom told me I should watch this film. I was a kid, and my mom kind of always had a suspicion about me. She always knew that I was going to be either in films, and she knew I was a musician because I was playing very young, but she knew I was interested in visual things and just comedies, and I understood irony and sarcasm at a very young age, but suspense I really didn't understand until the birds, and it was like when she showed me that, and I remember just there's that scene where she's just sitting there and the birds are just landing on top. They just
in the schoolyard.
On the schoolyard, yeah, they just landing. And I'm thinking to myself, why didn't she run? And then just birds landing on a man. Why should she run? And man, I mean that thing is just unbelievable. What's something that do you borrow from Hitchcock?
Yes.
Yeah.
His the idea of his ideas of what you need to do to make a film. Like I watch a lot of course, his films, and I watch a lot of his interviews, and I always have him in mind when I'm making a film. Not so much copying him, but understanding, the sense of what shots you're using and stuff of that nature. Like I said, his whole thing is every shot is for a reason. So I try to keep that in mind when I'm making a film. Doesn't always work out that way, Sometimes go to the editing room is like, all right, throw that shot out, throw this shot out, but I try to keep that in mind though, that, it's all about, there's an audience and you gotta, every shot you're taking, every shot you're making, every time you frame it, you have to keep the audience in mind. What are you trying to show them with this? And I got that whole concept from Hitchcock, because other filmmakers, they, not all, but there are other filmmakers out there that just shoot. They just shoot everything, and they decide later on what they're going to use or what they don't want. But I try to capture just what I need,
Right.
But doesn't
Yeah,
always work.
that is no, that is a big different style, because I think a lot of directors shoot, in my opinion anyway, they shoot too much.
I agree.
I think they shoot too much, and now with digital,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like you can you can really go crazy, you know what I mean? And really you have to, and you think of the days of Hitchcock, where they didn't really have 50 shots that they can take. They really had a very limited amount of shots. And although I know Hitchcock did shoot a lot, but it was more because he needed certain sections of a thing. This is how I'm thinking that he thought. But when you shoot something and you shoot the whole scene in this angle, he knows he's not going to use that whole thing. So you shoot it again in this angle, knowing you're not going to shoot, and then the bathroom scene in Psycho, right? Was it 74 shots or something like that? 75?
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Like 70. I mean, that's, how long is that scene? 30 seconds or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah, he put a lot of, man, they were just moving that all over the place just to get that one.
That one.
I forgot how long that particular scene was.
Yeah, I don't know how long.
They mentioned it a lot, but
yeah, they talk about it a lot because it's such an iconic scene because of the way it was shot,
right.
and and he adds just so much. But what you were talking about was interesting because you go into it with his sensibility of shooting, and I think that that's actually a big part of what a filmmaker should take from another filmmaker instead of taking the shots,
Right.
Like I know Scorsese takes a lot of stuff also from I don't know. Who does it? He
takes a
does
lot from all the, like Hitchcock, John Ford. He's always talking about
with
Howard Hawks.
That shot with Pesci with the gun. It's from that film.
From that silent film, right?
Silent film, and so but Scorsese is one of those guys that he wants to paint a photo, right? He wants to paint a shot. And I saw him on an interview once on that master's class thing that was on.
Okay.
And it was great. I mean, it was more like him being.
How was it?
Yeah, it was more like him being interviewed.
Okay.
It wasn't like a class. He talked a little bit about the technical stuff, but if you really want to get one, get the Ron Howard one. Okay. Ron goes to town. He shows you storyboarding. He actually goes into an actual scene with two popular actors, and he directs them, and then he cuts, and then he'll turn to the camera and he goes, okay, you see what I did there? The reason I cut this is because and he'll tell you what he's doing, and
that's cool.
That was really good.
He's a great director.
He's a great director. So watching him work, and he's so casual on set.
Right.
I mean, he's got the script in his hand and stuff, and he's just like, and he's just looking like this. And then when he sees something, he's like, okay, that was good. But now I want you to, and he's just like very,
I like that kind of passion.
Yeah, he's just like so freaking awesome. And so that one was a good one. But Scorsese, what he does is he talks a lot about painting a portrait. Each frame has to look like a painting. He wants to stop every single frame and it's going to look good, which I don't know how that's possible, but I know what he's saying overall.
Yeah. I like to hear him talk too, because he really goes deep into filmmaking and
he loves
movies.
Film.
Yes,
man, he loves real film. He doesn't. He's not a big visual guy, and he's like, oh yeah, I mean, I think that the problem. I like what he said one day. He goes, the funny thing about digital is that when all this stuff goes away, the only films that are going to be left are the actual films. So if you think about it, it's
you do that pretty good.
I appreciate it. I'm a good mimic. I don't know if I'm an impersonator, but I'm a good mimic. So are you into his films? Do you watch
Scorsese? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's funny. Growing up, I wasn't into his films. When I was younger, I was more into like adventure films and stuff of that nature. So I didn't like it when I was younger, but as I got older and I started getting into film and filmmaking, it's like you watch his films, it's like, wow, I see what he's doing here. This is great.
Yeah,
But when I was younger, I guess I just wasn't mature enough to appreciate it. And so,
right. And I think
now, yeah, I love it.
I think that happens a lot for filmmakers also,
Mhm.
where a lot of these films that people consider all these amazing classics,
Right.
they kind of pass you as a kid, because it's like me as a 15-year-old, I'm not gonna sit through The Godfather.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another one I saw late.
That me too. I saw it late, and when I saw it the first time, I was really taken away. I was riveted because it really carried me. You know what I mean? And even though it was like, you talk about a slow moving film,
Right.
it is pretty slow, but it just captures you. And I think that's a great film. I think Matt is welcome, Matt Briggs. What's up, man? He's a huge fan of kung fu film movies. I don't know if he's talking about. We were talking earlier. This came up a few minutes ago. So I don't know if he was talking about Hitchcock. I don't think Hitchcock was a big fan of kung fu films. He might have been talking about. No, I don't know if Hitchcock was a big fan of kung fu films.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think he means Tarantino.
Right. Yeah, Tarantino talks a lot about.
Yeah, because I was talking about the close-up and stuff like that. Yeah. What's that director's name? Forgot his name. The really famous Chinese director. I should know his name because he's really famous. But anyway,
he does the action movies like John.
Yeah. That's all I got. I just made that up.
But actually, I started watching. Just to touch on that real quick, I started watching more foreign films, like from like Asian old foreign films.
Yeah,
they're pretty good. A lot of good ones out there. Yeah.
Well, I think also a lot of these older films, these older foreign films are really great because they were doing the same thing we were doing, experimenting. There was no school over there either, but they did have something that we didn't really have, and that was like a really, really strong theater. Like the theater world, the acting world, really in England is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old, if not thousands. You can go back 1,000 years and hear of these plays being done.
They got a strong discipline down there.
Yeah, they have a tremendous history and they a really appreciation for the arts. Yeah, Matt was talking about Quentin. So, but they also had the same struggles that we had when it comes to filmmaking. They were still learning. They're kind of figuring it out. And I also thought that a lot of them were a little slower. Like Truffaut, what's his name? Truffaut, whatever his name is, that guy, French guy.
Oh, Truffaut.
Truffaut, yeah.
Yeah.
Really slow films, like really hard for me. And I've watched a few of them, but just very difficult for me to wrap my head around.
Yeah, I haven't seen too many of
it. You get a guy for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I haven't really saw much of his work.
You need to do it because it's great. I mean,
I love his book, his interview with Hitchcock. I have that book. That's a great book, but I haven't seen too many of his movies though. Yeah, very interesting stuff, and all those guys over there, just have some really classic films. But again, just a slower pace, Right.
And the women were a lot more darker. Also, I've noticed. Like you come here to America, like in the 40s, you go to one of those foreign films, and the women are like, I don't know what to do. In their language, obviously, and I'm confused. And over here, they're like, I'm singing in the rain.
It's totally different.
Yeah, and they're just like happy and so, which is cool. And the contrast is really awesome. Have you ever thought of making a really intense period piece?
I never really thought about it. I mean, the only thing I would love. I think I told you before. I would love to do a Western. That's for sure. But but something. I mean, maybe an old school like gangster pick. I would love to do that. Like maybe back in the Depression time. That would be pretty cool to do something like that.
Yeah.
But once again, something when you start thinking that big, it's like, oh, money.
Well, I mean, you start thinking about like the Depression, or you're talking about the 20s and 30s. Then you're looking at really wardrobe is where your you're really
Mhm.
you have to spend a lot of your money, because I mean you can finagle locations. Even in New York City, there's some places that you can go to that look pretty.
It just gets a little complicated with also like cars and stuff, and
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot.
depending on
Well, right
what.
now it's perfect. There's nobody in the street. So,
Yeah, yeah, there you go. You know,
no cars.
you could actually shoot in Times Square right now and be all right.
But you know, a lot of times they'll rent only like two cars, two
Mhm.
or three cars, you know, and then they'll just put them in it. Because remember, a lot of the cars back then were just black.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you rent
Black,
three
big,
cars.
heavy cars. Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. And you do the like what Matt says. You know, you just put the effects in, and then you just CGI that sucker and have like cars everywhere, the same car. You know,
Yeah, I guess that's the way to do it. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, why not? You know, I mean, literally, how many shots are you doing outside? Also, too. You know what I mean? Unless it's a mob movie or something. You know, where you have drive-bys or something with the Uzi.
Right.
You know, so
But it would be cool to do one. I mean, yeah, it would
yeah.
definitely be cool.
Yeah, yeah. And I think also when you think of period pieces, it's fun to try to come up with like a current situation, like a current, and then
Mhm.
put that in the past and see how that would have gone. You know what I mean? And
Like put it back in the Roman times or something.
yeah, like even back there, you know what I mean? And do it that way. I love Mel Brooks because he takes the comedy and he brings it
Oh, he's great.
westerns,
Mhm.
Rome, through history of the world, and all these different
He just didn't
space.
care, man. He just
He
went,
just, yeah.
did his comedy, and that was it.
And that was it. And it was like, okay, he just took his comedy, his really sometimes that was like very, very low brow comedy, right?
Mhm.
You know, like, you know what? You know, the farting scene in a which
Blazing
almost he
Saddles.
wasn't even gonna put in. They were saying that he didn't you can't put that in, you know,
Right.
and it was like one of the funniest scenes, you know.
You saw it, what, Blazing Saddle when they're sitting
Blazing
around
Saddles,
the
yeah.
campfire?
Yeah. Can you imagine trying to do Blazing Saddles today? Me coming up with a script.
You wouldn't even get the studio won't even pick up the script.
No, they won't even let you in the door if they get a glimpse of even what it's about.
Yeah,
Unbelievable, man.
just take a picture of the script and put it up on social media.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly. You know what? Another thing that I'm fascinated, I want to talk to you about this is character study in a small room.
Hmm.
Did you see Nixon Frost?
Actually, no, I didn't
Okay,
see it. I
so
know of it, but I didn't see it.
yeah, really, really incredible film. And Ron Howard in an interview, I think maybe on that series, I don't remember. But I watch a lot of Ron Howard because I like him.
Yeah,
Um,
he's great, man.
yeah, he's really so good, and you can see why when you hear him talk. He's just a really nice guy. He wants to do a really good job, so he talks to everybody. Really, he respects it. I mean, it's just the way your approach to filmmaking that really makes people want to work really good for you and really want to do a great job.
Right.
But when he was talking about Nixon Frost, the conversation that they have, there's this famous conversation that really happened in real life on the phone,
Mhm.
and they were trying to figure out how they were going to shoot it, two different places, you know, two different locations, or shoot one guy first and the other guy's off camera feeding the lines and vice versa.
Right.
And we decided to build a set with two rooms adjoined like this. So they it's a completely separate room and a
Okay.
completely separate room. So it was Nixon's home and Frost's home, and but the rooms were side by side, and there was just a split screen. But like you see the way you and I are split screen right here,
Right.
we would be in the same room. But in my room, you would see the blue stuff with all that stuff behind me, and in your room, you would have your room and stuff. And that's how he shot it.
That's how you shot it like that.
That's how he
Wow.
shot it, yeah. And he shot, so it was live. It was a conversation with both actors live. They had their phones and stuff, and that's how they shot it. And I thought to myself, you know, when you really want to have that dynamic in a room, I'm really fascinated about small spaces and actors. That's why if you look at a lot of my films, I put people in in closed places because because that's real. People get into an office and stuff, and then they have this conversation, and it can be an intense conversation with everybody not aware of what's going on, but there's a lot going on in there, and the intensity of going on.
Yeah, I like that. I like that idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sort of like the film that you shot that I was in.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? That film is really a small space, a really uncomfortable, you know, conversation, and you really get to play with the whole dynamic of that of the situation, you know.
Like the whole short film, right?
Yeah. So when you shoot these bigger films and you're outside, you know, you're thinking with a dolly, and then you're gonna walk this way and blocking, and you
Right.
know, and of course costs and stuff is much inexpensive to put two people in a room. Obviously, that's one benefit of doing that. But I think you can actually paint a lot of pictures if your writing is good from outside. You know, like the film I did, Stabbed. So I wrote that film about something that had happened already, and
I think I saw that one.
yeah,
you filmed that. It's on YouTube, right?
it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
I might
Right.
have taken it down recently because I'm putting it on another platform. But yeah, it's just two women, and there's a guy at the beginning, but he had a very small scene, and he leaves, and then two women talking about something that happened, but they're talking about that incident and bringing that incident to life slowly, so people can know what went on and what went on and what went on, and
Right.
so in their mind, they're making up their own film. You know what I mean? Why do I have to shoot it? You know. Write it really well and have them imagine what's happening. You know what I mean?
I like that concept too.
Yeah, you know.
Yep.
So it's something
That's
that,
always keeping the audience in mind. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I always like to try to trick the audience into wanting to think of one thing when there's a completely different thing really at the bottom of it. You know,
Right.
and that to me is like an interesting conflict. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much.
No,
Um,
not at all.
doing what I do, we just talk too much. But that's why I have this, right? This vehicle, so I
Yeah.
can.
But that idea, I mean, same thing when it comes to violence in film. I try to do it in a way where if there's something really violent that I want to portray, a lot of times I don't show it. I imply it because I figure if it's in the, like you said, if it's let the audience, I can't shoot anything that, worse than what they could imagine is happening,
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing with sex in movies. You know, like we get it. Like
Right.
we know how the act is. You know what I mean? It's like it's been
Right.
well defined. So we don't need to actually see it. You know what I mean? It can be implied, and in the old days they'll do the fireworks. But when an actor
going in the tunnel.
yeah, going in what was it that I saw in
North by Northwest, the ending.
what was that one?
North by Northwest, the
Yeah,
ending.
yeah. Oh yeah. But there was another one. What was his name? The comedian that he was in Airplane and
Oh, one of those Naked Gun movies, wasn't it?
Leslie Nielsen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
And
it was one of those Naked Gun movies.
yeah, one of the Naked Gun movies. Yeah, he takes off his in one scoop he takes off his whole suit, and then he started, and then they show just like the fireworks, and they show tunnels, and they show all this stuff. It was hilarious,
It's a whole montage of just different things.
Yeah. But I think that's that's obviously for comedic purposes, but even just for like a dramatic thing, you can get so much more, even like two people kissing, right? And then it fading, right? Real slow fade, where you still could see them, and then the next scene is kind of fading in, but very, very slow. If you just did that very, very slow, and then the next scene is a morning scene,
right?
And then you have who's, you got to be really, really dense if you're like, well, what happened? Did they do it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, an audience, they pick up on that.
They totally do. That's why when you're shooting films, you see a lot of the film festivals, and I'm sure you're experienced with this, when you go to film festivals, like you see these films where you're like, they're spending 5 minutes on this thing, and it was really a 30-second to just imply this one thing.
Right.
And you've lost, it's just who you think is the best at that? Probably Hitchcock, I would say, right? And really condensing a shot to give you the full feel of what something is, but without having to give you 1,000, 50 minutes of it.
I would say off the top of my head, once again, I would have to go with Hitchcock. Yeah, like you said.
I would say that too.
Yeah,
too.
I watch a lot of films, a lot of directors, but yeah, I would have to agree with you. Yeah, Hitchcock.
Yeah,
he's really good at it. The beginning of Psycho. Just that alone. The camera comes into the window, and you have the actress laying on the bed, and the actor is up there putting on a shirt. Yeah. Obviously, they just finished doing what they were doing.
Right.
Right. It's just so simple the way he just shows it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, that scene somebody could have made like a 10-minute scene.
Yeah, like them on the bed and all this other
And
stuff.
causing
Yeah.
kissing, and then it doesn't take the story to move
Mhm.
forward. It's unnecessary footage, is what it is. You know, it
Yeah,
should be on the footing on the cutting room floor, but
Right.
it ends up in there somehow.
Yeah, sometimes you can make a audience a little uncomfortable if you know show too much of that stuff.
Yeah, or bored
Yeah.
because they're like, yeah, okay, they're gonna take. I know what's happening. You know,
Right.
I already got it. You know, let's move on. But maybe that's just, you know, I don't know, because like, when you talk about comedy, I know the one we did was, I guess it was in the comedic. It was comedy. It was obviously comedy,
Right.
but there was a little bit of a sadness to it. The way I looked at it, also,
Yes.
because it is a sad situation for many people.
Mhm.
But when you look at comedy, who do you look at as like the guy who makes you just howl?
In terms of movies or
Yeah.
TV type.
Uh,
Uh,
like, yeah, movies, like in films, like who you watch a film and you know you're gonna laugh.
wow.
Yeah. So
uh, Woody Allen. I'm entertained by
mm,
his type of movies. I mean, his type of comedy in his movies. I really get a kick out of it. I really laugh, and it's not a. I don't know if it's made to make you laugh loud, but
right.
yeah, I watch some of his movies. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, it's funny because I mean he's always this controversial guy, right? Because he's had
right,
some questionable things, uh,
mhm,
but I love his films. Like,
mhm,
I don't talk a lot about him, but
right,
like, you know, when I got married, my wife and I think it was you know, we started doing whatever, getting films and stuff, and
right,
I turned her on to some Woody Allen films, and we really just fell into like this pattern where we would just watch as many films as we possibly can, and
mhm,
there was a kind of a common thing to each of them, because they're all kind of very similar in a sense,
right.
within not so much story wise, but in the feel. You know, it's feeling. And then he did something different when he did the what was the film with the Match Point. You know,
Oh, that was great.
Match
That was
Point,
great.
fantastic. I mean, what a great
Mhm,
film. And Hannah and Her Sisters, and you
mhm.
know, Annie Hall. I mean, these and my favorite Woody Allen film is Manhattan. I mean, I could watch that film like a million times.
That's my second favorite of his. My first is Annie Hall.
Annie Hall, yeah, Annie Hall is my second. I'm like reverse. Uh, yeah, and I mean those two films. But you know, Annie Hall. To talk a little bit about Woody, because you brought, I'm afraid to bring it up because people were like, yeah, you know, some people have their viewpoints. I'm
Right.
talking about the film work that he did. You know what I mean? I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
I mean, I'm the same way. It's like I study films, and if I'm going to study films, that means I study what's there, what's out there.
Right, and his films are out there,
And the director is brilliant at making films. I need to watch that.
and if a director is making one film per year for the last 40 plus years,
Hmm.
well, then who does that? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you
It's like
know.
a bizarre thing, and he's still doing it. He's still going.
Hmm.
Maybe not now with the virus, but he's probably doing something. So,
Right.
you know, when you look at Annie Hall when it first came out, it was such a revelation to so many people. I liken it to when Marlon Brando first came on the scene, you know, because up to Marlon Brando, acting was like this. Well, I don't know exactly what you mean. You
Right.
know, and then they were like, "Oh, you have no idea what you're talking about." Well,
There's
I know
just a certain rhythm to it
it was
before.
a
Yeah.
certain rhythm. It was the His Girl Friday, you know,
Yeah. That's the
that
way they
kind of
were just.
quick,
Hmm.
right? And nothing wrong with it. I liked it. You know, Jimmy Stewart, one of my favorite actors, and a
Uh-huh.
lot of great films like that. Fred Astaire, all these guys that I really
Cary
admire.
Grant,
They
all
had
these.
this,
Yeah.
right? All those guys had that really fast thing, and then Marlon Brando comes on the scene, and then something else happened. Now
Yeah.
there's like this rawness, real. You know what I mean? Like you can just feel like you can feel the heat coming off the anger or whatever it is. You can just feel it, you know.
Hmm.
And because his performance was just so groundbreaking, you know. And I know
Like
people are. It's
his
very
quiet moments of the camera just catching his emotions on his face. I
brilliant,
mean,
man. Just
like before then, people, it seemed like actors didn't really do that.
they didn't
Like
use
they
the
had to
camera,
express emotion through their dialogue. But
right?
he came on and it was like all these quiet moments, and it's like you get it about the dialogue. You're getting what he's giving you there.
Completely. And he had such a way. He used the camera. He knew the camera really well somehow.
Mhm.
And I think actors before that were directed. I mean, all the actors are all directed, but it seemed like Marlon didn't really have to be directed that well.
Mhm.
Or that much. He just had to be told, you know, do your
Right.
thing, and that's what. But the other, the camera is there, so I'm doing my dialogue here. Okay, fine. But he knows the camera is there.
Yeah,
It's a difference. It's a difference when you're doing it the way Marlon did. And
you would have never been able to work with Hitchcock though.
no, no, I know. I wonder.
That would have never worked out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Marlon was a difficult guy, and he just got more and more difficult as he got older, actually. But
Well, a lot of these method actors, I mean, same thing. Like even Montgomery Clift, he was really good at. He was a method actor as well, and
he was another one too.
yeah,
He changed the game too. I think Marlon maybe had a little bit, just a lot more recognition, and he was in just
yes,
bigger films. But the scene in the car where his brother takes out the gun on him and wants to in a streetcar named Desire.
Mhm.
No, not on the waterfront. Sorry.
On the waterfront, right? Mhm.
And he takes the gun out, and he looks at him, and the scene called for him to actually originally to kind of grab the gun, and they were supposed to like fight or something or argue and stuff. And
Right.
Marlon was like, no, he's like, I don't think we should do it that way. And then he took out the gun, and he just like, no, he just takes it. He goes, no, no.
Yeah, that
I
scene is
mean,
something.
damn. And his brother just melts because
Yeah,
it's
what
like,
was his brother's name? And it was Charlie, right? Was it? Yeah.
yeah, he's
He's
oh,
like, no, no, yeah,
Golly, no.
yeah,
Oh man, I'm getting teary eyed just thinking about it because his brother was
yeah.
just
I'm
like,
gonna have to watch that movie this weekend again. It's
dude,
been a
it was
while.
incredible because I think I'm gonna do it too because he's just got such a his tone of voice and his almost feeling sorry for his brother that he had to take the gun out on him. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like the guy's gonna try to kill you, and he's feeling sorry for him.
Mhm.
And his brother knows at that moment that first of all, one, he's gonna die.
Uh-huh.
He knows that now because he's got to do this.
Right.
And he takes it, and oh man, what a scene! What a dynamic scene!
It is. I'm going to say it was. It was great.
Thank you, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Thanks. Um, so yeah, so just a dynamic scene. Yeah, I got teary. I'm an emotional guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, Marlon Brando,
That's
damn
the
it.
product of a good film. See,
It really is,
it has
man.
that effect.
It really is. And I'm a dork anyway. Like I'll watch a commercial for like State Farm, and if it's one of those really sad commercials, State Farm is there. I'm just like, yeah, it's so true. You need protection. But I think that part of the brilliance of those guys back in those, and it's Marlon Brando days. And I think also James Dean
Mhm.
did a lot of that also, where he changed the game as well.
Yes, in Giant. I mean, that was. Yeah, I love that movie. I mean, that was.
Yeah, amazing film, amazing. And so I think there were guys and that were able to do that. But anyway, the reason I went there was because that changed the industry in the sense of how people approach roles. And I
Yeah.
think Annie Hall was that second phase because up to that it was films were 70s films especially where already
Yeah, it is.
hey man, it was cool. I loved it. What's his name?
It was an interesting decade of movies.
Yeah, what I'm saying, and it was a great time. And I think, and then Woody Allen film came out. It was just conversation.
Mhm.
It was just like really neurotic people in New York. Just having conversations about stuff, and
Yeah.
it was
Yes.
almost like a glimpse into something, right?
Right.
And his films are like that. It's like the camera comes in, you see what happened, and the camera goes out. It's still happening.
Right.
And that to me is like a Woody Allen film. From it just it leaves you knowing that those characters are still living and just
Yeah. You just basically, essentially, you just put a relationship up there on the screen, like you said, just two people and what's going on in New York, and
yeah,
it's just. I
yeah,
thought it was brilliant. It's
yeah.
a great film.
Especially that opening scene I mean, what a brave thing to do. Like one of his, he just decides, I'm just gonna put this camera here and put the actors like a mile away talking.
Just coming up the block. Just,
You don't see anything. I remember watching it the first time, and I'm like, "What's? I don't get it." And then you see them approaching, tiny approaching, and they're having but you hear the dialogue through the whole thing.
then the camera goes with them when they get closer.
With them, yeah. And I was just like, "Man, you gotta be that."
I watch that now, and I still say, "Oh man, all these years," and yeah, even with technology now, I probably still can't do something as great as that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how he managed to do that. I don't even know how many takes it was or anything like that. You know,
Right.
He's not much into remembering stuff. Like he literally will wrap up a project, forget about it, and then talk right on to the next one and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw the documentary on was it on Netflix maybe, or it was a Woody Allen documentary. It was a two-parter.
Oh yeah, no, I have that on DVD. I don't know if it played. Yeah, if anything, maybe HBO or something.
Maybe, yeah. I saw it. I think I saw it on Netflix, I believe. I want to say Netflix, or Amazon Prime. But anyway, you know, in it he same typewriter that he bought, same way with the tape.
Yes, he did mention that, right?
Taping stuff and correcting things. You know, you talk about a guy who's consistently just that's what he's doing.
In his way, that's how he does it.
Yeah. It's amazing. So that's cool. I didn't really know that you appreciated his films and stuff. So
yeah, I do. I just have to. I want to get back to his earlier work, as in before, like, because I've seen a lot of his dramatic work. You know, after like Manhattan and stuff. Well, even I guess you could count, in a sense, Annie Hall and Manhattan is kind of like dramatic as well. But they're get back to some of his slapstick comedy type stuff.
Yeah, like Bananas and Take the Money and Run.
Yeah, because I saw clips of that from the documentary, and I was laughing like, "Oh man, I gotta see."
I actually have that film. That's one of the. I actually own that film. Take the Money and Run. Yeah, that film is hilarious. You know, one of the reasons why he made that film was because he did What's New Pussycat, and he wrote it, and they butchered it. It was a studio film, and they changed all his dialogue. They changed the whole thing, and he was so upset. And the film came out, and he didn't even go see it. He just didn't want to do anything to it. And he said, "I'll never make a film again." You know, that's what he said. He was like, "I'm not going to do it anymore." So they came to him and they said, "Oh, you saw the documentary, right?" So he talks about it in there. So he says, "You know, we want you to do another film." And the stipulation was like, "Okay, I'll do a film, but you can't tell me what to do.
Right.
There's no rewrites. Once the script is done, it's done. Once I deliver the film to you, that's the film, and you have to take that film, whatever it is." And they were like, "Okay." They gave him $2 million, and he came up with I don't remember what film it was. If it was Bananas or Take the Money and Run, but
I think it was one of those. Yeah,
one of those two, because those two came fairly early on and stuff. But yeah, his earlier stuff was definitely slapsticky.
Yeah, I gotta watch some of those.
Yeah. And he got a lot of flack when he came up with Manhattan and Annie Hall. Some of his fans were like, "It's not slapsticky enough," you know. But he's maturing, and he's telling different stories. I mean, how much slapstick can you tell? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you gotta change it up every now and then.
Yeah. So, talk to me a little bit about comedy. You know how because I know you told me before you don't do a lot of comedies, but this last one that you did is a comedy, and you wrote it, you directed. Is that something that you want to continue doing, or did you like it, or were you like, this was not easy?
No, I would like to do more comedies, but not because I have a certain approach with when I think of comedies. If I'm going to make another comedy film, it's not going to be something where I'm trying to force a laugh. I think it should just be like a situation comedy where you're just laughing at the situation to begin with. I like ideas like that, where, like you said, you could get the drama out of it or the serious of it, but you can still laugh at what's happening.
Right. Yeah. Because there's the Mel Brooks stuff, right? That's just like the gag and stuff, stuff, and which is funny. But then there's also like you get. I look a little bit like Jack Lemmon.
Okay.
Some of the stuff that he did, where and Neil Simon, a lot of the Neil Simon stuff that Prisoner of Second Avenue and those things. I look at those films like it wasn't really slapstick. It was funny, but the situation was really serious. Like Prisoner of Second Avenue was like, they get robbed and he loses his job.
I haven't seen that one.
You haven't seen that one? Oh, you have?
No, I've never seen that one.
Oh, you gotta. Oh man, dude, you're gonna love that film. That's a great film. And there's this, and it's hilarious. But exactly what you're saying. The situation is hilarious. Like you take that same situation and you tell Jack Lemmon this isn't a comedy. You know what I mean? You watch it and suddenly you'll see the same exact performance. You know what I mean? But the fact that he knows it's a comedy, it's a little bit more tongue in cheek. But it's really, really, really good, and you should definitely watch that one. And there's another one. I can't remember which one it is, but he's got a few of them. I mean, Neil Simon is one of my favorite. I have on my shelf here. I have every Neil Simon play.
Nice.
That he's ever written. Maybe not the last like 3, but I have pretty much all of them there and stuff. And I read them. I read the play, the actual play, not the film script or anything like that. Yeah. And you laugh.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah.
You laugh, man. He's just really, really a funny writer. And then you got Jack Lemmon and these kind of performances. But that's kind of like what you're saying. The situation itself is funny. I guess you could look at Ben Stiller. I don't know if you're a Ben Stiller fan.
Yeah, actually I do. I like his movies.
Yeah, because like when Robert De Niro is like questioning him about something. Did you do that?
Oh yeah, meet the parents. Yeah.
I'm watching. And he's like, no, I didn't do that. And that situation is like very uncomfortable, but it seems like it's a serious thing. But the situation is so freaking funny. There's no slapstick there. You know what I mean? It's just those performances and stuff. But yeah, it'd be great to actually do to see you doing something like a Mel Brooks.
Yeah, no, that would be that would be interesting. That would be interesting.
Yeah, it seems like I've thought about the stuff like that, and it seems like it's hard. You know what I mean? Like you need like a character like a Jim Carrey kind of a personality,
right?
And a script that really takes risks and like kind of like and then you have to be very, very careful today because there's so much sensitivity right now.
That's the other thing.
Where does comedy end and insults begin? What's that line? When you're writing your films, in the last, I don't know, it's gotten pretty bad, I guess, in the last 5 years, right? So, do you think about that? What your audience is thinking? When you're writing?
Well, I always think about what the audience is thinking in regards to what I'm showing them in the film, but sometimes things go over my head and I just do it anyway, and then get to editing and somebody has to remind me, I don't think you want to put that in, or you don't want to, maybe you shouldn't say this word here, and but sometimes it just goes over my head. I'm like, whatever, I'm just making a film,
right?
But yeah, it always has to be pointed out to me,
Yeah,
the stuff that goes in the cutting room floor, it probably shouldn't be in a movie.
Definitely me too, man, because I'm usually I just talk and shit flies out of my mouth. I don't even know what the hell I'm saying.
Yeah, because you're in the moment. You're like, even when you're writing, you're just in the moment.
Right.
You're writing, and that's it.
Yeah, and I think it's also cops are here for me. Hold on.
Oh, that's you. I see sirens on my spot too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, weird. I thought I heard it here. Maybe it came from your side. I don't know.
Yes. I'm sorry about that fire department going by.
It's all right. I grew up in New York. What do you think? I don't know that. With that. So at what point do we loosen up and tell stories? You know what I mean? Because the thing about, like, let's say you're playing a guy who is a racist. Right? Let's just say the guy is a racist.
Right.
Well, that's the character. He's a racist. So, right. It's like Archie Bunker. You know what I mean? And what a racist he was. I mean, can you imagine trying to do a show like that today? You can't get away with it.
No.
But you got to say, well, Archie Bunker was a racist. That's what he was. I mean, he softened up towards the end of the show,
right?
But that was character development. You know what I mean?
And it's what made it funny to show. I mean,
it really did. And
it made it funny.
Well, yeah, a lot of people don't. They've lost their sense of comedy, and they're, you know, listen, I was a kid watching All in the Family, and it was the first show that I remember them mentioning a Puerto Rican on. Like
Right.
you know, I knew I was Puerto Rican, but I never knew that people on TV would ever mention a Puerto Rican. You know,
Right.
and he was talking about Puerto Ricans, and he was talking to Jefferson, and he was telling them, so Audrey, you telling me that we're at the bottom of the list? He's like, no, you guys aren't at the bottom of the list. He goes, the Puerto Ricans are at the bottom of the list. Only they don't know that because they can't read the list.
No, yeah, there was some pretty.
And I remember laughing at my ass off, and I was like, he said Puerto Ricans. And, you know, I wasn't like, this is an outrage. We know how to read, you know.
It was a different time. I mean, even watching like Sanford and Son. I mean, you know, there was just.
Oh man.
It's just a different time, and it was like I said, those characters. It made them funny though.
Right. And Sanford was a racist.
Oh man, yeah.
The worst.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, just like crazy stuff, you know. But you know, I really hope that things you know, loosen up a little bit in the art world, because it really is such a it has to, because it's such a restriction to storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's just like, if you're writing about this, well, this is what this is. So you can't make a story about racism PC.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, you know,
you're right.
It's really crazy.
They have to find a way to, you know, to loosen up a little there, and like you said, just allow people to tell stories, and that's it.
Yeah. Do you get offended? Have you watched anything in a film that just like, you're like, whoa, now you've gone too far?
No. I guess because I look at it as, like I said, I look at it as art, you know, and if there's a character like that, you know, the character is like that for the story, you know, so that's just it. I mean, I can't think of a time off the top of my head where I ever got offended watching something. That's just me personally.
Right.
You know, I guess because I just see it like, all right, this is a story. This is what the story they're telling. These are the characters, you know.
Right.
If you don't like it, then don't watch it. That's all. Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, I saw Birth of a Nation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, I could see somebody watching that and being like, well, that ain't right. You know, but
yeah, I've yet to watch that one.
Oh man, dude.
Yeah, I know. There's different.
I might have found
watch it online and stuff. I just never got around to it. I do want to see it though, because
it's interesting. I mean, listen, it's a really old film. I mean, it's, you know,
yeah, I mean, it's part of, whether you like it or not, it's part of the history of cinema.
Right, exactly. And even though it was very offensive,
mm-hmm.
I mean, very offensive, I wasn't offended, because at the time when they were making it,
right,
those were the people that were around. This was the story they were telling, and it's called Birth of a Nation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, unfortunately, the nation was born under those circumstances. You know, it was a dark time. You know, but then, you know, evolution and people awareness level goes up, and people tend to, you know. So when I watched it, I remember watching it and being uncomfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Al Jolson stuff, you know, like, you know, when Al Jolson was in blackface, and you know, and he's singing whatever he's singing, the jazz singer in that film.
Well, you know, when you bring that up, yeah, that could be a little disturbing. Yeah, that kind
of. And I mean, but at the time, this is how they portrayed it, because they didn't have black people to play them. They weren't allowed. They weren't allowed to be in it. So they had to do the if you do it now you're just a jerk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, why did you do that? You know, like, knowing that people are going to be offended by that, especially because of the history of it. You know, not so much that you know, the one thing that kills me is that Robert Downey Jr. Basically played an Australian actor who played a black guy in Tropic Thunder, and he was freaking brilliant.
I thought it was a funny movie. I went to the movie to see that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was hilarious, and I didn't think anything of it, you know.
No, but they let you in. They let you in on the joke.
Right.
So.
Right. But I mean, even when people let you in on jokes these days, you know, there's always a Karen out there that's just like, I don't know, anyway, whatever.
Yes.
I'm not going down that route. So what's in the future for Daryl Denner filmmaker. What do you see yourself for the remainder of this year?
Well, this year I'm not gonna definitely. I see that some people are out there, going back to attempting to make their films and stuff. But for the rest of this year, no films for me. I'm gonna try to settle down and think about, what projects would I like to work on next year? Because by early next year, depending on how things are going, I just want to jump right into it.
Yeah.
So it's really just about organizing my thoughts and you know, just line up different projects that I have in mind. There's definitely a couple I want to collaborate with you on. So
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
so I'll definitely be in touch with you on that. But yeah, it's really just, I would say the rest of this year is just preparing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's kind of like what I've decided. Also, like I have an agent in New York, and he's been. I don't know if he watches this anyway, but he's sort of been MIA. So he'll probably write me because I'm not MIA, dummy. I'm in quarantine, you bonehead. But I haven't heard anything from him or anything. So if I figured, you know what, I'm just gonna do this show. I got 4 more of these shows to do. I'm gonna wrap up on the JHS interviews,
which is a great show, man. I mean, you're doing a good job with it.
Appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's 70. I'm gonna have 71 shows in the can on these, and then I'm gonna do another show, and I'm gonna announce that and stuff in the next 10 days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing like this because, first of all, and this has been a great medium, and this is something that like I would advise you to consider doing something like this more, like even coming on my show, like whatever I do next, more often to talk about a film. You know what I mean? Like because what I'm setting up right now is a little bit different. We're gonna have segments as opposed to just one guest or the whole thing.
Okay.
So it's gonna be more of a show. And you have these like great classic films, and I would love like a film recommendation. Like you come in and you just give me a film, and you bring this film. You go, okay, so the film is this. It's from 19. This it has these people in it, and it's about this thing. And
you just gotta be ready to cut me off because I will just go on and
yeah.
When I love a film, I just keep talking and keep talking. So,
yeah, it'll be a
like cut. That's it. All right.
Like he won't stop. But like we're not even on the air. He's not even on camera. I hear that he's still
call you up at night.
Call me that he's still talking. So listen, but that would be something that I would love to have you in on and have a little segment, where we actually just talk about a film and break it down. Because
that'd be great.
Yeah, during this, I think for the rest of this year, I'm going to try to develop this. Oh, but what I was saying was the rewards that I've gotten from doing this, people that I've met, and I'm talking a little bit about this during my last couple of shows, just to kind of give a little bit of a goodbye and stuff, like goodbye. But I've learned so much from people, like from different industries that I've never been in, and and I've met new people based on it. Like people will be like, you should interview this person. It's a friend of mine, and I call them up and we have a great conversation and they come on my show. And Carly Burke is one of them. She came as a referral from Doc, and Doc is a great musician who's played with like the Police and Alicia Keys, and we have a great conversation. He recommended this actress who's been in films with Tom Hanks and J-Lo and all this stuff. She came on as a referral, and we became good friends. So based on all this stuff, yeah, it's just this amazing opportunity to really get out and meet even more people, and I had no idea how many people I knew. I'm like, I was looking at the list. I could probably do this with a new guest for another 6 to 7 months, and the reason I bring back people that I like is because I like them. And I'm like, it's just like when I bring back Daryl again and talk about more movies and stuff, you know what I mean?
I really appreciate that, though.
Yeah, man, it's always a pleasure, man. And we definitely gonna be doing some stuff. 2021, I know I said it in the beginning of 2020. I was like, yo, 2020, man.
Yeah,
kill it.
yeah. I had a lot of plans for 2020, but man,
that was just like, what in the world just happened? But the numbers are going up, down, depending on where you turn it on. But I hope that we get to really start making some films again, and
Absolutely.
even my idea of like the small films. You know, there are still actors that are willing to come out and
Remember, I still want you for a Western. Don't forget.
a Western. Me and well, I got the hat.
Yeah, that's right.
Only if I can wear this hat. Well, I got more.
Yep,
I got more
absolutely.
hats. I got like 3 cowboy hats. So take your pick. Yeah, man. Imagine me in a Western. I don't even know what that would be. That'd be like a hilarious Western.
No, I think it'd be good. You'd be the fast gun coming into town. Mm-hmm.
Oh man, you know the thing about those old westerns and um, the characters were all played by different people, but they were all the same character. You know what I mean? So there was always a tough guy, right? He came in and go, listen, down by noon.
Yeah, the bad guy all decked out in black.
Yeah, and then the good guy's like, listen, man, I don't want any trouble. And then there's always a guy in the back. He's like, what are you gonna do to him? Huh? What are you gonna do to him, Troy? You know, oh, you see what I'm gonna do to him.
I gotta say, that's my favorite genre.
It is. I love it, man. I could watch those things, and you know, obviously they're brilliant ones. You know, like you know, Destiny Rides Again. It's one of my favorites. Anything with James Stewart, you know, he did like 20 westerns. You know,
yeah, especially like the ones he did with Anthony Mann as a director.
Oh man,
love those movies.
So great, and same horse, Pie was his horse, which apparently he had stuffed, and it was like on his estate. So it's kind of weird, but anyway, didn't know you could stuff a horse. Yeah, I would love to do something like that. You know, one of those genre films. All right, I could go on and on talking about this, and
yeah, me too, bro.
So, but we're definitely going to talk about the other segment and stuff, and we'll set something up for a date, and you bring the film over, and we'll talk about it.
No, that'd be great.
Yeah, man. As always, it's a pleasure, dude.
John, thank you. Same here.
Take care of yourself. We'll talk soon, and thank you for being on, man. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. It's always a good time, brother.
Thank you, man. Have a good night.
Good night.
Take care. Daryl Denner. What are you gonna say, man? I mean, the guy is just a great guy. I kind of feel like I talked a lot in this episode, so I do apologize to Daryl and to the audience. I'm getting into the idea, and the reason I'm doing I would suppress sometimes. I want to say something, I would suppress it because I didn't want to take time from my guests. And somebody was telling me that, you know, you should, not just somebody, I got a few people telling me, I felt like you were going to say something more and you stopped. And they were saying that I should just, because I think it gives more fodder to the actual guest, that maybe they can chime in on what I'm saying if I have enough information, you know. So anyway, so I started kind of like doing that a little bit just to kind of practice on that. It's a little uncomfortable for me sometimes, but I'm getting better at it. So anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Daryl, for being on. I will be on again on Monday night, 9:30. I got 4 more shows left, and I'm really excited about that. So thank you everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it. If you like these interviews, please hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell so you get a notification every time I come on live, and share it with friends. Thank you so much, everyone, and I appreciate you all. And as always,